So thank you. Yeah, mate. Enjoy.
Cheers. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for your time today and taking the time out to listen to me. As you can see, I'm Billy. I work at GumGum, have done for a while. And as it's already been mentioned, some of you have been lucky enough to see me on LinkedIn over the past few years, talking about attention measurement and AI and all of that good stuff. But more recently, I now work across all data assets at GumGum. So contextual, attention, and creative. And, my mission, the reason I get up every single morning is to get this stuff into your hands. And so that's what I want to talk to you about and take you through kind of data and our kind of outlook on data. But first, it's probably good to take a little bit of a step back. We're talking a lot about data right now, and it feels like everyone's talking about data, and you're probably asking yourself, why? What does data even really mean? But to be honest, the future of advertising is data, whether we like it or not. Data is everywhere, and you can kind of see from the screen here, we're in 2025 this year. Data in advertising is worth around $250 billion. And in just 5 years' time, it's going to double to $500 billion. And the reason being is, data is probably the most valuable tool in our armory when it comes to advertising. It helps you plan better, helps you target your audience, and also gives you that insight and those feedback loops to understand, was I supposed to be putting my ad in those places? And the second part of this quote that's very nice is the people that will be most successful are the ones who properly know how to use data. So it's your job as brands and agencies to go out and explore all data partners and understand why some data is good for one problem, but different types of data solve a different problem. But why are GumGum now talking so much about our data assets, and why do we believe that we should be positioned as a major brand safe data partner? The first thing is our contextual technology, right? That is what allows us to understand people's mindsets, put ads in the right places using brand safe tech. And so that's the first part. And then the second part is we're completely transparent. It's already been mentioned that we've been accredited by the MRC at content level. Again, on like an amazing list: Google, Meta, GumGum. That's a good list. And so that's completely transparent. And also just to talk about the MRC, some people maybe don't know who the MRC are. The Media Ratings Council. They come in. They're like a governing body, and they come in and they lift the hood and they check: are you doing what you actually say you are doing? So we've got that level of accreditation, which is amazing. And all of this stuff, we're a global business, and our heritage is rich media and video and all of that, the kind of stuff that comes with media as a package. But all of this data is now available as a standalone solution as well. So you don't have to buy media to get this data. You can access it in the trade desk as a pre-bid segment. We can curate it and send it to other DSPs like DV360. So you can access this everywhere. We're in over 20 markets. Our contextual tech understand 18 different languages and growing. So that is some of the great things about GumGum. But you might be thinking, this sounds great, Bill. I'm really happy for you. But actually, what does it mean for me as an advertiser or as an agency person? Does it make an impact? Like I said, my job is getting this into the hands of people, and we've been really successful in getting this tested and into the hands of many, many brands. So I thought it'd be good to just give some feedback that we had from one of the world's largest CPG brands. You might be able to guess who that is. And they tested our tech over a 12-month period, really stress tested it, put us up against other partners, and they came back with 3 core findings. The first finding is kind of similar to what I've already been talking about. They found that we were the most accurate vendor for categorizing pages. First, everyone that they tested, we could tell them exactly what the page was about. And again, that sounds great, but does that actually make a difference, being really, really precise in your categorization and targeting? Thankfully, we also help them drive media effectiveness. So if you imagine your whole addressable market is this big. And then you go, now we're just going to use cookies. It's that big. And then everybody has that attitude. You're all bidding on this kind of tiny percentage of the market. CPMs are higher, competition's high. But then you use a technology like ours, which is cookieless and contextual. And because we have our data layers in it that allow you to broaden that horizon and bid on different impressions that you would have never bid on before, acquire new customers, buy at competitive prices, you can drive this media effectiveness. And then on top of the media effectiveness, we actually found that we drove business outcomes. Now, that's the thing that your client really cares about. They don't care about clicks. They don't care about contextual. They care, did it drive sales? Well, at least in this instance, it was sales as their like lower funnel metric. So that that was such a confirmation for us that all of this is moving us closer and closer to being a really powerful data partner, and having this feedback from a large brand was absolutely great. And we've started to tease what can we do today and where are we headed. And so I just wanted to give you some examples of new products, new features that are coming very soon. Everything that I've talked about so far in terms of how we categorize a page and context, all contexts are kind of categorized by the IAB. So they have this taxonomy and they say, this is everything that anyone could ever talk about. And they set that standardized, and that's great because it means that you can use that all year round and it's predictable and everyone sings from the same hymn sheet. The downside of that is you have these kind of crazy things that happen every now and again, and they're not their own IAB context. And an example of that might be Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift doing a worldwide tour. She was messing with economies, rising interest rates and inflation. Not interest rates, just inflation. That'd be crazy. But unfortunately, Taylor Swift doesn't have her own IAB context. Maybe she should. She's pretty big now. But she doesn't. And so that would be a topic. We would say, wow, look, Taylor Swift is this kind of thing that is consuming the whole market. How does your audience overlap with that specific topic? And it doesn't just have to be Taylor Swift. Some other topics would be stuff like interest rate hikes, cost of living crisis, these hallmark events that happen throughout the year that you want to capture, use in your media planning, and then understand how does your audience overlap with that. The other thing that's come in is, what is actually here now, is first-party data lookalike modeling, essentially. Now, we are a cookieless business. Everything that we will sell you will be cookieless. We don't want to rely on IDs and cookies. That's part of our ethos. However, it doesn't mean that we can't use your own data to then enrich a contextual strategy. So, say for example, if we were working with LiveRamp and we can take your LiveRamp IDs, match, these people are your customers, it's your really rich data set, and we want to find those IDs in the bid stream, and we say, okay, ID 1 is seen in sport, ID 2 is in cooking, and we kind of bank this set of contexts. And so we end up with this contextual strategy that's enriched and informed by first-party data, but we don't rely on the cookies and IDs. So it's scalable. You can actually spend on these lines as opposed to your first-party data lines. And look, not to say that you will be targeting your first-party audience. You might not be. But if you wanted to target your first-party audience, you would just do that. And this type of segment is kind of, it's people that look and feel like your customers, and so therefore helps with that prospecting side of your activity. So look, that's some of the stuff that's coming soon. Genuinely, we have so many more features coming that I'm not allowed to talk about. It feels like every week we have a new feature. It's like Christmas every single week. And so if you have any questions about any of this stuff, how you can use it, how your brands can use it, potentially how we can create some bespoke solutions where we ingest your own data or someone else's data, and the world is our oyster. So please grab me, email me, message me on LinkedIn, and we can talk about this stuff in much more detail. But thank you so much for all your time. Appreciate it. And there's Charlie.
We're dressed the same. We wouldn't believe it. Like, it's the outfits. Sorry. 1 second, I've got stuff to prepare. What is that? Would you believe it? I'm talking about video, like, yeah, I know. Right.